Good? Okay. Ebony. So, and what I'll start doing is just putting it little lines at a time. Then once I start drawing them into what we're doing in the game, I'll put it up a little higher, so then they just start having to use their nose a little bit more, and they'll start having to actually work at getting up there, so they'll start balancing. But you definitely want to start with showing them what we're trying to accomplish in the game, because they will get frustrated and they will give up. So I'll leave that right there for right now, and I'll just, if she doesn't pick up on it, okay, now there we go. So hopefully she's going to start using her nose here a little bit. I'll put it kind of midway. There you go. Ebony. Yeah, that'll get a taste for it. So I'll leave that right there for right now. And then I just go all over the run, and even inside the run sometimes. Or I'll put it on the pole. Come here, little Pharaoh. I'll put it on the pole. Then because it's cheese, you can also use peanut butter. And of course you don't want to ruin their meal, or you know, you don't want to use a ton of this. So I'll just give them a couple lines. But even this enrichment, that keeps them busy throughout the day, because even if she leaves that, eventually she's going to start getting a whiff of it. She'll start using her nose, and then she'll start smelling. So she will discover it eventually. And then that's just going to keep her busy. So scent work actually wears dogs down a lot more than people realize. And it's just the same as mental stimulation or exercising, physical exercise. So another thing that I use is, we have a couple food puzzles here, which this one's a little bit more difficult. So you just open up the top here, which I might not be able to get this one open, but you just open up the top here, and you just put the regular food kibble in there, and then they just have to kind of pull this through. And it's very important to remember that you want to start dogs at a very novice level, so you want them to not get frustrated, because they will, what they call satiation, they will actually get bored with it and just give up, okay? And this is called a wobbler here. So you just put food right here, and then you put this inside for them, and then they just wobble it around. Good girl. So now she's up here. So even putting it on obstacles like that, what I'm going to try to do is draw her up and get her to stand up here. And just start using her nose. And there's another thing that we use, frozen Kongs, where we stuff them with anything you really want to. This one contains just the kibble and the wet food, and then you freeze them, so that way they'll start, it's going to take them a little bit extra time to lick through that and work it. So the more stimulation that you can give them throughout the day, especially in a sanctuary or a shelter setting, any mental stimuli that you can offer that dog, the dog's just going to be that much more tired, and it just gives them something more to do versus just sitting there. And another thing that we use, another thing for scent work, and this almost works like a food puzzle, is I'll just take some treats, break them up into a cardboard box, and then what I'll do is I'll kind of show her, okay? Now she might not, she has had stomach issues the last couple of days, so she's probably not real food motivated at this point, but that's okay. I'm still giving you the example. And what we'll do is just kind of fold the box up like this, and then I'll leave it open because she's still not used to this. So remember, keep in mind that you want it to be fairly easy for the dog at first. And so hopefully she'll use her nose to kind of investigate, and then she'll just start digging into there. And of course there are dogs that are going to destroy these things, but that's why you have a lot of different options with the food puzzles and the Kongs and the different games that you can purchase or have donated. Fundraising. We get a lot of our puzzles. A lot of these are donated because we just put them on a wish list, and people will just purchase these. And so we try to give our dogs at least a little bit of enrichment every day. If we can't get them out physically for exercise purposes, obviously this is a sanctuary, so they do have between going back and forth with the environment, they they do get their physical exercise regardless. So this is just more for scent work. This is just enrichment. And one thing that dogs really lack is enrichment, especially then again in a sanctuary and a shelter environment.
So what happens if the dog doesn't get any enrichment? What will happen from the perspective of the dog?
It just really depends on the individual dog. But if you can imagine being in a small space over and over again, so say if you were agoraphobic. If you were agoraphobic and you just could not leave your house, or people that are grounded in their room or whatever, you can imagine sitting in a small area with nothing to do but think. And that's kind of, if you can relate to that, that's kind of what these dogs experience. It's okay, there she goes. She's getting a little bit more. So psychologically and emotionally, it's really difficult for us to really know exactly what they're feeling and what they're thinking, but we can come pretty close. You can see behaviorally how that will start decreasing and actually being detrimental, I guess I'll say it that way, in their behavior. So dogs that may not typically pull on a leash, if they're sitting in a kennel and they're not getting any kind of enrichment, mental stimuli, or exercise, then of course they're going to be that much more excited about just getting out, so they're going to naturally just want to pull. And then, I've seen a lot of dogs just decline in behavior. So it's very important. And these dogs actually are the only animals in the animal kingdom that prefer human contact and companionship versus their own. So dogs, among any other species, really need that social interaction with us. They crave it. And if they don't get it, and if they're just sitting there being bored, I couldn't even imagine what that would be like, sitting in my room day after day with nothing to read, even TV, any kind of mental stimuli. You just sit there and think. That's just extremely unhealthy. So any little thing that you can do with just regular Kong, giving these guys a Kong every day could make, not a huge difference, but it makes a difference. And there's no question about that. There's really no debate about that. Oh, there's all sand in there. And so also in the summer, we'll have just ice cubes, and we'll put kibble or different treats and freeze the ice cubes in a tray and then give it to them in the summer. Or you can have a lot of shelters have those upside down bowls. You can just flip those over and fill it with water and treats in the middle there and freeze that. And sometimes we'll just hang it on the door so they sit there and just lick that over and over. So at least that's stimulating their mind to a certain degree, and just keeping them from being bored.
Yeah.
And also, it really prevents things like this in this environment, where if they have nothing else to do, they're just going to practice and learn other behaviors, like fencing with dogs. And so medically, that could be an issue too, for heart issues. That a good girl. Heart issues or ACL surgeries. So you could be saving that dog a lot of behaviors, which that's our job as working in shelters and sanctuaries environments like this. Our job is to get these dogs ready to live in society and live and function in a human household. And so we want to get them behaviorally ready as possible. So any little bit can help. And it has to be part of your routine. Sometimes just when we're feeding, every day our dogs get one of these. So what we'll do is, if they're a dog that eats, let's say, 3 cups at every meal, we'll put 1 cup in a Kong, put it in their bowl, and just give them the rest inside the bowl and just stick it in the bowl. So it becomes almost 2 food puzzles where they have to pick it out and then they'll lick it until they get all the food. So
that's a good idea.
So it's really important then again to keep it simple at first. So then you're going to get dogs who are very intelligent, that can actually are better at problem solving, which these are 2 of the more advanced ones. But then again, it's just more of a game to them, and it just keeps their mind working, psychologically, cognitively working for the food.